Hello, everyone. Welcome to Faith to Lead. I'm delighted that you're here, that you could connect in here with us, whether you're listening in or looking in or just checking us out. It's awesome because here on Faith to Lead, we like to look at faith principles that help each of us as leaders so that we can thrive in our businesses and our personal lives so that our businesses can excel. And I want you to know that your business can win. So we're going to look at time-tested texts from the Bible and apply those principles to the workplace. You know, one of the statistics that I was checking out, this comes from the Philadelphia Federal Reserve Bank, and they did a survey of all the different businesses that apply for capital. And what they're saying is, what's the top operational challenges? So if you're a leader, I want to see if you're in this percentage. They say out of all the businesses, and that's in the Delaware Valley, Philadelphia, Southern New Jersey, Delaware, Northern Maryland, you know what it came up as? They said hiring or retaining qualified staff. That was 59% of all of those leaders saying, where can we find good help? Who can be my leaders? If I have a good leader and they're doing a good job, it's almost like they're on their exit way out of here. How do I replenish the good people that have just left? So just looking at that. So we're going to be looking at that today, how you can break yourself out of that 59% and how you can bring on and keep the right people to follow you in your leadership. And you know, when you look at that, man, some of the ways you have to view it is you have to first stop and say, who are you as a leader? What do you represent? What are you attracting other people to? And what should you as a leader expect from others? And implicitly, what are they expecting from you? Are you the kind of person that makes it easy for others to follow? So we're going to unpack all those truths right here. We're going to look at some biblical texts. Yeah, this is faith to lead because they're timeless. They've proven themselves throughout history. You know, incidentally, if you ever do some course or advanced leadership theory, just analysis or study, you'll hear words like servant leadership, transformational leadership, authentic leadership. And they have proven themselves in clinical trials and studies from small businesses to huge, global organizations in faith-based environments and completely private environments. But do you know where most of those theories originate? From the Bible. That's right. Servant leadership, transformational leadership, authentic leadership, all has faith-based roots. So right here on Faith to Lead, we're going to take you back to the source so that you can use these time-tested principles that are being exemplified in businesses all across the world so that you can win also. So this is what I want you to do. You can share this podcast, Faith to Lead. You can subscribe to it. Let a friend know all the things that we're talking about. And we also want to hear from you. So go ahead. You could visit us at faithtolead.com. Send in your comments. Stay up to date with things. Let us know your ideas. And we're going to get this done. So the first thing I want to share with you today is when you really look at what it takes to be a successful leader and what people are expecting from you as a leader in your department, in your organization, or even if you're an entrepreneur, is you've got to embrace excellence. That's what they're looking for. You know, there's a scripture in the Bible that comes out of the book of Daniel, chapter 6, verses 1 through 5. And in that scripture, I'll just, you got to look at that in your own Bible study. That's Daniel 6, 1 through 5. It details the life and the experience of Daniel. And he was right there working in the king's palace. And in those verses, what you'll see is that he separated himself from the pack. And the exact words were, because he had a spirit of excellence, that what he had that was different than his peers was something that was emitting out of his life, saying, this guy is all about excellence. I'm going to say that again. This guy is all about excellence. And then what happens in that story is it says that his excellence continually separated him from his peers. And a couple of things happened. One, he got promoted to be not just one of those peers, but over everyone else. So it advanced him in leadership, which incidentally, excellence will do for you as well. But that was the good side. But the bad side is that all of those peers that he once had resented him and began to plot against him because he was distancing himself from them. So we're going to take a look at those and see how those same principles play their way out in each of our lives as leaders. It's probably playing its way out in your business, in your team meeting. You could be going to a team meeting right now and saying, why does everyone hate me right now? Maybe the reason is because you've been separating yourself a bit and they resent the fact of that they experience that separation. There's also a scripture in the book of, this is New Testament, Daniel's Old Testament, Philippians is New Testament, Philippians chapter 2, verses 5 through 8, that deals with the mindset of Christ and how he did not consider himself to be robbery, to be equal with God, but emptied himself of all godliness to come down in the form of humanity, and to actually lower himself to our level so that he could die for each and every one of us. It's basically saying, why would he give up so much? And then in that scripture, it actually says, you need to have that same mindset. Wow. It's the mindset that says, as a leader, sometimes you have to be willing to give up everything, or at least feel like you're giving up everything of yourself, of your own ambitions, to help someone else. So let's unpack those two scriptures, see some principles, and also look at some contemporary scholarship that accentuates them. You know, I think the first point, if I were to give you some points, is one, make excellence your standard. Now, that sounds hard. You know, there is a temptation in people to settle for ordinary, for okay, let's just make it through this week. You know, what were our results last year? What were our returns last year? How many clients were we serving last year? How can we reach break even? How can we make the next payroll? How can I just keep things going? I'm going to encourage you today to break that mindset, because excellence, and this has been written before, I'm not going to coin it because, there's so many people have said it, I don't even know who to quote it to be honest with you. And it's that excellence is the opposite of average. Excellence is not the opposite of bad. So your goal is to be more than not bad. Your goal is to blow average out of the water. That's what it means to be excellent. It means I hate being average. Getting through the day is no longer the goal. For each and every one of us to reach a mark or to reach a level of destiny, a level of fruition, a level of accomplishment, that people will look at us and it becomes a magnet for, I want to get on that team. I want to get on that board. I want to be part of that vision. It means you have to make excellence now the standard. Don't apologize for it. You know, a lot of people will say, man, is this good enough? If we made it through it, isn't that okay? Be the person to say, well, I'm thankful and appreciative of all that we've done, but there's a higher bar and we're going for excellence. Don't apologize for it. Set it as a goal. It may make you sound brazen or resistant, but biblically, some of your greatest leaders made excellence the standard. We've got to go to some place we've never been before. And it's something about those words, if you believe it in your soul, emit through people, and they say, I want to be on that train. So the first, I want to make sure I underscore that for you, is make excellence the standard, not average. The second is you've got to be a model of faithfulness. You know, there's a phrase in that scripture that says Daniel had an excellent spirit. And that's a very interesting term and phrase. And it says that he was faithful. And faithful there, it literally means to be reliable, to be consistent, to be the person that if you say something, you're going to do it. And if I keep repeating and checking you out and inspecting your character and your performance, you are staying consistent to everything you've promised. Don't break promises. If you say something, live up to it. And let that be how you exhibit yourself in your work environment. Let that be what your work environment exhibits to every employee. If you set a group of rewards or of goals, and if you do this, then the company will do that. Live up to it each and every time. Let them know that you are the most reliable person. You know, maybe the best way to say it is that you are the example of faithfulness. They should look at you and say, I want to follow and work the way that this leader does. Sometimes that's hard and it's difficult to do because we're all human. We want to pack it in. We want to have days where we settle back into being ordinary. But just continue to remember that I have to model to everyone else the right way we do things. I'm going to show up on time. I'm going to show up with the right mentality. I'm going to have the right intensity at my workplace. I'm going to have the right positive outlook. I'm going to model faithfulness over and over and over again. And that's faithfulness to the mission. Daniel did that. And when Daniel did that, he naturally elevated. Now, I'm going to give you something that's not going to sound as great. First, we're going to make excellence the standard. We're going to go for it all. We're going to be consistent to that in our good days and in our bad days. But there is, and this is a phrase that I coined, there's an excellence backlash. Because, when you look in these timeless texts of the Bible, these scriptures, they don't just say the good things. They say the things that, when Daniel began to rise, there were a group of people that hated him and resented him and began to plot against him. And I think this is where some leaders today, they struggle. It's because they want to be excellent. If I'm excellent, then I'll attract people to my team. I'll attract people to my organization. I can deal and engage with that 59% that we talked about to say, how can I retain people and attract people? So I'm doing all these things and they're coming. However, there's a backlash that when you excel, someone else will resent that. They will hate the fact that you're being promoted. They will hate the fact that your team is doing well. Wow, I feel like I'm talking to myself right now. They will hate the fact that your organization is winning. And then some of them won't just hate it. They'll actually plot for your demise. Now, tearing you down has become their mission statement. Why? Because you're beginning to distance yourself because of your excellence. So when you make excellence your standard, you should also prepare yourself. It should be like, counteractics or just preparing yourself for someone out there to resent it and having you still maintain your authenticity, for you to value excellence and to keep excellence as your standard. Everyone will not like the fact that you're separating yourself. So as a leader, prepare yourself for that. Toughen yourself up. Say everyone is going to respect it, but everyone won't walk with me. But you continue on that track. The fourth is make a distinction between vision and your personal ambition. I love that text from Philippians chapter 2 and verses 5 and 8, because what it basically says is that the ultimate example that we within the Christian faith that we follow is an example of Christ and how he emptied himself of everything for us. And really what it says in that scripture, it says that he humbled himself. And that's the ultimate phrase. So now you have one who is the preeminent leader, but what did he exemplify? I became preeminent because I was willing to humble myself. I'm preeminent because there was a time I was willing to give up every right that I had to be the ultimate preeminent leader and to come down in the form of a baby for humanity. And sometimes in leaders, we make a problem, and I want you to hang with me on this. We don't make the distinction between what a vision is and personal ambition. By the way, if you're enjoying this is what I want you to do. I want you to share this podcast. You can go ahead and subscribe to it on Faith to Lead, where we're going to unpack principles like this each week to help you and to strengthen you and to help you get through the week and to help your business to win. And also, we want to hear from you. I may say something, you say, Aubrey, that sounds cool, but I disagree. I want to hear that too. I want to hear your ideas, your thoughts, your concepts, your concerns. And you can do all that by visiting us at faithtolead.com. But you want to make this distinction between vision and personal ambition. Personal ambition is what you write that will build you up. It's when you say, I'm doing this company and this team because there's someplace I'm trying to get as an individual. I want that boat. I want that car. I want that house. I want those accolades. I want that reputation, in which the end benefit is yourself. Now, there's nothing wrong with individual success and achievement and progress. It's just very difficult to encourage other people to enable it for you. So personal ambition is a secondary, tertiary, it's a tangential issue. What vision do you have that extends above and beyond yourself, that extends above and beyond your own family, extends above and beyond your own existential needs, as valid as they may be, that says, you know what? We're going to do this for the community. We're going to do this for the organization. We're going to do this for the next generation. We're going to do this for people that I may never see, may never know, may never be in contact with. But when we do this as a team, we will move the needle and make this a better world to live in. So the end user isn't yourself. The end user becomes everyone else. And when you can begin to hit those narratives and to declare those phrases and to let that be really what you're pushing and encouraging people to come follow me as we make a difference in our community, as we make a difference in our industry, as we set new trends and open the doors to new possibilities. Now you've become a person that says, I want to be part of that team. I want to be part of that organization. I want to be part of that firm. So you want to be able to embrace a vision in which you've made the distinction between an altruistic vision and a personal ambition. The hallmark of our faith, the Christian faith, is that the one who leads, the ultimate leader, is the one who exemplified that the most because he emptied himself of everything for us. So you want to kind of follow that model not only in your life, but in your business practice. How can I empty myself? How can I give up some things or at least de-emphasize some things that I want, like, or even have so that I can move the needle in the masses of people around me? If you can begin to grow and mature and pivot and to let some of your language reflect that aspiration and those ideals, then you're successfully making the distinction between vision and ambition. Also, the fifth point, be the leader who intentionally empowers other people. That is essential to the faith. That's exactly what Christ did. He emptied himself of everything in heaven. Why? So that he can elevate everyone else to be where he is. That's the Christian faith in a nutshell. And you want to mirror that mindset in your business practice. How can I, as a leader, answer and fulfill the dreams of my team? What are their dreams? Why would a person come and want to work in this company and work in this organization? What do they want to see in their lives in 5 years? What do they want to see in their world in 5 years? And you're going to always hear me talk about that 5-year look ahead, because it's essential that leaders stay in that visionary mindset. That's one of the distinctions between leaders and managers, is that leaders got to say, they have to see what's coming, scenario planning, that whole deal. And so you want to be able to communicate with the people who you are attracting, who you are recruiting, and say, where do you want to be in 5 years? This is what we're doing to make that possible. And you want to genuinely and authentically live up to that, where they can see themselves get actualized by being on your team. So you want to be the kind of leader who's looking at people around them and saying, yeah, they've been on my team and they've been serving, but have they grown? Are they happy? Is this reaching their dreams? What are their dreams? And how can I, in the role that I have, with the resources that I have, make some of those dreams come to fruition through what we're doing? Start hitting those notes. Start connecting those dots. Because at that point, you'll be the kind of leader that has a much easier time retaining your staff. So make sure you do that today. When you go in and you look at the people around you, ask them, hey, by the way, what's your dreams? What are you hoping to do? What do you want to see? What does the world look like through your eyes? Take notes, reflect on them, and see how you can help bring those to fruition. There is a book that's called The Leadership Challenge. I was doing my doctoral studies and we were looking at all kinds of leadership books. And by the way, I'm a leadership junkie. All right. That's why if you're a leadership junkie and you always want to get better like myself, and you never have it all, and you like to study it, that's why I want you to go ahead and you can share this podcast. You can subscribe to it so you can always see the latest principles that are coming out and the latest surveys right in this Delaware Valley area, in which many of those, by the way, those statistics reach a global pattern because they're kind of true everywhere. And you can share it. You can subscribe to the podcast. And we want you to engage. I don't want you just to listen. I want to hear your ideas and hear your feedback and hear your thoughts. And let's get this narrative going. And you can do that by visiting us at faithtolead.com and sharing your comments. But there was a book that actually I read and I worked through, and I actually use it in consulting. It's a book called The Leadership Challenge. It's by Cowses and Posner. It's an amazing book. If you look in any organizational developers, people that are business consultants that go into those big firms and say, I've got some change theories to implement a change plan. Many of those plans are born on some of these principles that you hear from these academic and scholarly resources. Well, Cowses and Posner, in their leadership challenge, they actually list 5 things that an exemplary leader should exhibit. The first was to model the way, that you have to model how to be, how to function. You are the first model of your corporate culture or team culture. So the first thing you have to do is you have to model. This is how we do things. So if you want to retain people and recruit people, be a good model. The second was to inspire a shared vision. When your team grows and evolves, and man, I want to hone in on this one, the vision, they need to hear from you, but it must grow to a shared vision where you sit down with your team and say, where do we want to be in 5 years? And they have to have some ownership, an opportunity for feedback, to share their ideas, to submit recommendations from mid-course corrections from their perspectives. You want to champion that. They call that a shared vision. Incidentally, I'm also a lead pastor of a church, and that's what we're doing right now. We're doing a shared vision casting experience. It's amazing hearing those ideas and those thoughts that are emerging from leaders, and just knowing that you can be part of the person to help facilitate it. You don't have to be the person on the mountain who always comes down and say, here's where we're going. You can be the person who's bringing everyone together and saying, where do we want to be, and guiding that process. So you want to model the way, inspire the shared vision. The third aspect that Counselors and Pastors had in their book was called challenge the process. You've got to look at how your organization, how your team is doing things right now. And you have to be the kind of leader that says, I know what processes we have, how we do what we do, but I'm willing to challenge them, even if they were my own ideas. Is there a better way for us to do something? Open the door, launch the discussion for innovation. Be the process challenger, not the innovation stopper who says, no, we tried that 4 years ago and it didn't work. No, I went down to that industry sector and I know what's down there. I know all those people. Don't waste your time. No, challenge the process and be that open-minded innovator who's always willing to look at something new, who says, if we've never tried it, let's go ahead and do it. And if we have to revisit something again, let's revisit it because the scenarios have changed. Let people know that innovation and progress is part of your modus operandi as a leader. Now you're going to break yourself out of that 59%, because a lot of people, they will leave teams because they just don't see those processes in action where anything would ever change. They say, well, this is the way it was. This is the way it is. This is the way it's always going to be. And if I want to grow as a person, I have to leave. Be the kind of leader who says, no, we challenge the process here. And if there's a better way to do it, and if you see it, we're going to onboard you, we're going to position you, and we're going to give you the resources to do so, even if it means we have to empty ourselves for the sake of this vision. Man, the fourth point is you have to enable others to act. Don't just say that I want to hear from you and hear your comments and hear your feedback, but you don't give them the authority, the position, the resources, the capacity, the time in which they can do so. You will have to do some structural changes. And this last fifth point, this is out of Counselors and Pastors and their Leadership Challenge. It's a great book. You should read that book. I'm not getting anything out of it, but I'm telling you, you will. It's to encourage the heart. That sometimes we can get so lost in all of our business functions as a leader that we forget that someone may come onto your team, to that work environment, and you know that their head is down, their mind is down, their heart is down, they had a rough day, a difficult situation in their family. They submitted an assignment, and in their mind, they thought it was a failure. Great leaders, the kind of leaders that can retain a team, they understand when they have to pivot into being a motivator. When you can look at someone who's down, take the time out, know what to say to encourage their soul, their mind, their will, their emotions. Say, you're better than you think you are. You're more valuable to us than even you may perceive to be. You're the exact person we want to do this job at this time. Use those words. We didn't make a mistake when we brought you on this team. We believed in you before, and we believe in you now. How can we help you? Because you're the person for this role. Encourage their heart. Speak to their soul outside of all the business functions and deadlines and time frames. If you can reach that relational component on your team, and it is essential in 2025, in the years we're living in, people will say, now, this is a team I can be part of. You see me as more than just another peg on the square. You see me just as another pawn, as another piece in this organization. I'm a person. And when I'm in my low moments, you will encourage me. Incidentally, there's this entire theory in business that's called the emotional bottom line. And what they found out in this clinical test of all the businesses across the United States, it was a huge test, that the organizations that had a good emotional bottom line, where their people felt good about the place that they worked and that they genuinely thought that their leaders cared, that all the organizations that had a high emotional bottom line always had a high financial bottom line. So they said if the people are encouraged and motivated, you will have the best profit quarters and profit returns. So focus on motivation. Remember, if you like this, man, I've been having the time of my life even talking to you today. I want you to go ahead and share this podcast, A Faith to Lead. You can subscribe to it so you can always get the fresh things that we're discussing. And let us hear from you by visiting us on faithtolead.com. So let me wrap a few things up, man. When you go back into your workplace or you're reflecting on what you can do better, try to think of some ways that you can push your team to increase communication about what they perceive to be important. Go right into your team and say, hey, what's important to you? How do you see this? What are some things we should be doing better? Start the conversation as the leader. Don't wait for someone to knock on your door and say, hey, can I give you an idea? There's a lot of resistance that people have in even doing that to you if you're the leader. So be the one that launches it. Start that communication. Also, talk to your team and say, you know what? How do you think people should get promoted here? What are your values? What are your principles? What are your ideals and standards? Let's talk about how we can get from point A to point B. We all know what the vision statement is, but what would make this team work better? Try to understand what your shared values, your shared principles are, so that now you're not just saying these are the corporate values, but say what are all of our values? And begin to do a value writing, crafting statement that includes more people than just your historical leaders. It will move the needle. Hey, I had the time of my life talking to you today. In our next few episodes, we're going to dig into these challenges. We're going to break them down and make them even more plain. And we are going to unpack what you really have to do to get the most out of your followers and the need and the ways that followers should be coming into your team. Because a great organization, your team needs both. It needs great leaders, and it also needs great followers. So I want you to stay connected with us. So I thank you for joining with us. Remember, you can share this podcast, subscribe to Faith to Lead. You can visit us at faithtolead.com and share any comment that you have. Our goal is to take the time-tested principles of the Bible, combine them with contemporary leadership theory, all for you so that you can win. I'll see you next time.